Well, China, of course, is bent on staking its claim as a global tech superpower as it looks to break the relative hegemony of Western technology dominance. Rebecca Fannin is author of the new book, Tech Titans of China, how China's tech sector is challenging the world by innovating faster, working harder, and going global. Great to have you here.
Thanks a lot.
And just to put you in context, you were a long time in Silicon Valley, so you're an observer of that scene, and now an observer of kind of the same growing scene in China. This is really the big question: is do they have the dominance? Is the U.S. right to be afraid? Because this does feel as though this trade war is about that kind of level of fear. Are we right to fear their dominance?
Well, I think we have seen a China Silicon Valley arise, and it is now a global challenger. And the U.S. is the other superpower. So it's U.S. and China as the superpowers. And the U.S. does feel threatened by China's rise as a tech superpower.
And are they right to do so? In other words, are we heading in a world where it's either or rather than some kind of like powerful combination of technologies?
Well, we have been having a combination of technologies. There's been a lot of cross-border tech information flows and capital flows. But now we're starting to see a separation of those powers where China is becoming more dependent on its own technology, and we're going to be seeing a parallel universe develop. So China and U.S. as separate powers.
I was seeing some really interesting data that you were writing about the flow of investment, that there's a chill in one direction but not the other. U.S. firms are still investing in China despite all of this. What does that tell us?
Well, I think that there's no replacement for the Chinese market, and American companies need to go in and tap that market just as they have for many years. It's hard to replace that huge market, and it's still fast growing.
And so when you say they're innovating more, they're going faster, will they have an edge on the U.S. given what's happening now? In other words, maybe they would have if things remained unchecked. Now we have this big chill, right? Supply chains may shift, IP sharing may end. Can they continue to have the edge?
Well, I think actually they could escalate and have more of an edge in the future because they feel pushed back. They're pushing into a corner, and so they're fighting back and saying, okay, we're going to become more reliant on our own technologies. We're going to develop our semiconductor business, our artificial intelligence, our electric vehicles, all of these sectors, e-commerce, that have come up really fast from China, and I think that this is going to escalate.
One of the big questions, I mean, obviously things like IP sharing and theft and all that has been kind of at the center of these negotiations / tensions. Yeah. But one of the big questions is whether we can trust China. And Huawei is central to that, right? The State Department takes a very clear view that we cannot, and that anybody who does partner with Huawei will be seen as kind of a foreign entity inside the State Department. Are we right to be fearful? Are they spying on us with their technology?
Well, it depends on who you believe in some cases. Huawei, of course, says that, look, we're not guilty of any of this. There have been some cases, such as the T-Mobile case against Huawei for phone testing, where T-Mobile, there was a suit involved. There have been other cases where Tesla has sued Chinese companies or Chinese engineers for stealing autonomous driving technology. So these incidents do continue to appear, and Huawei definitely is in front and center of this. And I think, on the other hand, you have to say, well, Huawei is the #1 telecom operator in the world, and they're way up there in terms of their smartphones, to one of the top smartphone makers in the world. So I think these issues are going to continue to be there. I think they will become more pronounced, particularly with the arrival of 5G telecom, and nations are going to have to select one system or another system. Are they going to go with the Huawei system and trust it, or are they going to go with another system?
Do you think we'll wind up with sort of a world where everything Chinese influence, and that might include all of Africa, goes the Huawei way, and everything else, sort of the Western world as we know it today, goes non-Huawei, like a Chinese versus everybody else?
It could be. And China has already moved into Africa and moved into Southeast Asia in a big way. And so countries are now determining which way they're going to go. The U.S. has definitely decided they're not going with Huawei. Same with Australia. And a few other markets. Some other markets, such as Canada, are making up their mind after the election here. So I think, we'll see how this all shakes up. But I do think we are going to see this separation of East and West.
So we've only got about 30 seconds, but do you think the world, consumers and businesses, would be better off if the U.S. and China would cooperate on technology as they had been doing, even if there's the odd case of IP theft going on?
Well, I do think so, because I think that helps global innovation. if two sides are each delivering what they can do best and cooperating, collaborating as they have been doing in leading tech markets, then I think the consumer does benefit, and I think businesses also benefit.
All right, it's great to have you here for this. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Rebecca Fannin is the author of her latest book, Tech Titans of China, how China's tech sector is challenging the world by innovating faster, working harder, and going global.